Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, I know by now you probably heard about the emails which the Democratic Party leaked, and Donald Trump is very upset and warning his Republican Party not to talk about this. And, it's not much he can say to the Democratic Party. So, one of the emails, it talked about Donald Trump blowing Bubba. Now, in the political world, Bill Clinton is known as Bubba. And Donald Trump, I don't know. I just think this man got so many dark skeletons in his closet that the door just can't be closed anymore. That closet is wide open, and it's no telling what's going to fall out of it. So, he is ducking and dodging any reporters that ask about Epstein. I did that video about a day ago. So he's trying to ignore it. I don't think this stuff can be ignored. It is so much of it, 20,000 emails. And now, Donald Trump, who always portrayed himself as being a straight man, maybe not straight at all, you know? Donald Trump sound like he's down low. That's all I'm saying. Sounds like he's a download dude. So let me share. All right, get this back. All right, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Okay. So just remember these emails came from Mark Epstein, who's Jeffrey Epstein's brother, who also said that Jeffrey was not suicidal. There's no way he would have taken his own life. This is what his own brother said. So he's the bald dude with the glasses on in my avatar. That is Mark Epstein. And we're going to get into this one. Thank you so much for the ones, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right, let's get started. Hide this.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
So I had to go today. I said, and this is after 4 of these things. I've been, in all fairness, I mean, I'm a human being, right? I come in, and here's the problem. I said, oh man, it's too low. I said, it's too low. So I had to go. Way too low.
Have you ever wondered what's actually inside the 20,000 pages of Epstein documents that just hit the public record? It's not just names and numbers, it's emails, guest lists, strategy memos, the kind of digital footprint that could shake the foundations of power. Now, Buried deep in this avalanche of data, one email, just a few sentences, really has set the internet ablaze. It's got references to Trump, Steve Bannon, Vladimir Putin, and a shadowy figure called Bubba. But what does it actually say? What are people getting wrong? Let's pull back the curtain and read this evidence for ourselves, because context is the difference between rumor and revelation. Picture sifting through a sea of metadata. That's what journalists did, scrolling through headers, sender IPs. That's the digital address attached to every email, and strange references. Suddenly they hit the line. Ask Bannon if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Bizarre, right? Loaded with innuendo and almost designed to provoke speculation. But before we get swept up, let's anchor ourselves in facts. What's real? What's rumor? And why does a single cryptic sentence get more attention than pages of allegations?
So let me see if I got this straight. Jeffrey Epstein sent an email to his brother and asked his brother, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Bubba being Bill Clinton's nickname. It's hilarious that Bill Clinton was impeached for receiving a blowjob in the Oval Office and lying about it. And now the sitting president, there's an email indicating that he provided a similar service to the same man. 20,000 documents came out as part of the Epstein estate. This isn't even the Epstein files that we've been trying to get released. This is just from the estate stuff. And Donald Trump's name appears more than anyone else's. It appears in 1,628 documents out of the 20,000. Jeffrey Epstein talking about having Thanksgiving with Donald Trump, talking about Brett Kavanaugh with Steve Bannon and making sure that this dude was still very much involved with Trump and with the government as Trump had become president. And in just one of those many emails, Jeffrey Epstein, referring to Donald Trump, said, "You may recall, I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Not a decent cell in his body. So yes, very dangerous." Even a monster like Epstein thought that Donald Trump was dangerous. And at this point, I feel like we could have photos of him assaulting children, and there's a contingent that would not care. Let me be clear. Anyone in that list, anyone who was involved and harmed children, guillotines. Guillotines for all of them.
Let me tell you, a text with so little context can do more damage than 1,000 pages of dry legalese. It's like finding a single puzzle piece and insisting you know the whole picture. But we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to break it down frame by frame and separate what's proven from what's pure speculation. Are you ready to dive into the mystery? So, why does this matter? First, because emails are digital records, what lawyers call primary source evidence. But second, because the people named Trump, Bannon, Putin aren't random. They're power brokers with a history of backroom deals. When their names appear, it's not by accident. That's our foundation. Now, let's get granular. Who is Bubba? What's really being said? And why is everyone so eager to bend this story in their direction? Let's play detective for a second. When you hear Bubba in a political context, who comes to mind? For decades, that's been Bill Clinton's nickname. Even political insiders, speechwriters, campaign strategists throw it around like an inside joke. So naturally, when this nickname pops up in an Epstein email about Trump, people jump to connect the dots. But logic isn't evidence, is it? Now, you might be thinking, Lisa, Mark Epstein could have meant anyone by Bubba, and you're absolutely right. When reporters chased him down, Mark Epstein flat out denied that Bubba referred to Clinton. But here's the twist. He refused to clarify who it did mean. No explanation, no context, just a brick wall. In storytelling, that's called a narrative gap. It invites speculation, and speculation is the lifeblood of conspiracy.
Hello and good evening. In today's episode of As the White Hood Turns, okay, it has been a very busy news day. So, first thing, we're hearing that there were over 22,000 pages released regarding Jeff. And in those 22,000 pages, syphilitic Sid is the most mentioned in those released documents. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this email that has been making the rounds all over social media. The email in which Mark messages Jeff to ask him, is it true that Vlad has pictures of syphilitic Sid giving Bubba the Guac 3000? Y'all, when I tell you, whew, the way I had to breathe, I had to throw my phone, I had to go back, pick it up. What? Now, they are saying that Bubba refers to, I got a bill in my mouth like I'm Hillary Rodham. You know what I'm saying? You know what I am saying. But all of that aside, MAGA is in shambles. You hear me? When I tell you there are grown men all over social media crying, thinking about Sid being on his knees. But Bubba. Now, I don't know if this is true. Allegedly, supposedly, for entertainment purposes only. But if it's, I don't care if it's true or not. It's hilarious and I love it. I love this for him. I love it for him. And this is a hill that I am prepared to die on. That if some of that shit ain't true, all this, he done threatened to arrest Obama for treason. He done Letitia James, Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, James Comey. You name all the people he has gone after. You notice he ain't doing none of that with Mark Epstein. I got a bill in my mouth like I'm Hillary Rodham. Okay.
Let's talk about the term plausible deniability. That's when someone can deny knowledge because there's just enough wiggle room. By refusing to clarify, Mark Epstein keeps everyone guessing. Is it code? Is it a joke? Or is it misdirection? Here's what we do know. Political nicknames are more than slang. They're linguistic fingerprints in the halls of power. Everyone has a handle, a label that travels in whispers. But unless you're in the room or CC'd on the email, you're just guessing at the punchline. So, what's the resolution? We're left with ambiguity, and ambiguity is the breeding ground for rumors. If you're feeling confused, trust me, you're not alone. Let's get this straight. Does this email prove anything about Trump? The answer, bluntly, is no. And yet, watch how fast wild theories take root. Why? Because when you mix power, secrecy, and coded messages, people fill in the blanks. But let's look at the technicalities. There's no attachment, no digital file, no EXIF data, that's metadata hidden in photos. No corroborating statement from Trump or Epstein himself, just words floating in cyberspace. Now, some of you might ask, Lisa, why are people so fixated on this one message? It's because, in the absence of hard proof, speculation feels like action. But let me remind you, speculation isn't evidence. An innuendo isn't a smoking gun. In fact, something crucial is getting lost here. Another email in the same document dump where Jeffrey Epstein writes that Trump knew about the girls. That's not coded. That's an accusation. But it's the cryptic almost nonsensical Bubba line that dominates headlines. Isn't that revealing? Let's pause and reflect. Are we chasing the sensational at the expense of the substantial? The law calls this a red herring, a distraction from the real issue. In this case, the real issue is possible knowledge or involvement in trafficking, not who Bubba is. Resolution? Focus on what's documented, not just what's dramatic. That's how we separate signal from noise. Here's a fundamental question. Why does context matter so much when interpreting messages from the powerful? It's because context provides the frame, like zooming out to see the full painting, not just a single brushstroke. Without it, words can mean anything or nothing at all. Let's visualize this with a technical term: semantic drift. That's when the meaning of a phrase shifts based on time, culture, or who's talking. In political circles, jargon and inside jokes are common, what insiders call dog whistles. So a phrase like blowing Bubba could be a joke, an insult, or a code. Without context, we're guessing. Now, imagine you're in a high stakes boardroom. An offhand comment could spark an investigation if heard out of context. That's how dangerous ambiguity is at the top. So, what's the result? Ambiguous language gives everyone plausible deniability. If challenged, people just say, "That's not what I meant." It's a classic tactic. Keep it vague, keep it safe. The resolution here: always seek the broader narrative, not just the juiciest soundbite. Dig for context or risk being played by the very people hiding the truth.
And President Trump and that email between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother, the only bubbas they better be talking about is Kush. And President Trump and that email between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother, the only bubbas they better be talking about is Kush. I don't know if y'all heard, but stuff is getting spicy up there in the White House. The White House started to look like the Black House. Hello, listen. Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein emailed his brother and asked, or his brother emailed him. I don't know the direction. All I know is what was said. Okay. They basically asked, hey, do Putin got the pictures of Trump blowing Bubba? Now listen, we know back in the day whose nickname was Bubba. Hello, Hillary Clinton, your man. Yes, sir, Mr. Bill Clinton. Now listen, I don't know if that was it. They might have been talking about blowing that Kush. Okay. Or it might have been a fly named Bubba that he had to shoot. I don't know what the situation is. All I know is, Trump, if they got you on your knees like a trick in the 90s, brother, it's about to. Hey, listen, actually, this might help you out in the polls. They might say, see, I love the LGBT community. This might actually work out for you. Sidebar, Bill Clinton, if you the Bubba, then you already get in trouble with Monica Lewinsky about this. Damn. You need therapy. Damn. It matters who you get neck from, okay? Why you won't just get it from Hillary? I digress. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, apparently there's some pictures floating around in this indictment that's about to break the walls loose, okay? I'm gonna update y'all when I get some more information. But I don't know what Trump was blowing. Bubbles, Bubba, baptism, I don't know, okay? I'll let y'all know when I get an update. I'm just a messenger.
Why were Trump, Putin, and Steve Bannon all mentioned in a single sentence? That's not random. It's what intelligence analysts call association mapping. When names appear together, it signals some kind of connection, real or perceived, between the players. Now, does that mean there's a conspiracy? Not necessarily. Think of it like a Venn diagram overlapping circles of influence. Sometimes proximity is just that proximity, but sometimes it's evidence of coordinated effort. That's why the national security community uses terms like network analysis to spot patterns in communication. Here's a question for you. If Trump wasn't close to Epstein, why do his name and reputation come up so often in private emails? Is it blackmail leverage, legitimate business, or just gossip? We don't know yet, but when the same few names keep appearing, you've got to wonder. Let me share an example. During the Watergate scandal, It was the pattern of phone calls between key players, not just what was said that tipped off investigators. Patterns matter. Resolution? Every mention adds a piece to the puzzle. Alone, they're just names. Together, they form a map of influence that investigators can and should follow. Let's zoom in on Mark Epstein's response. When the press asked him to explain the bizarre Bubba reference, he clammed up. Now, is that just privacy, or is it a calculated move? This is what legal experts call strategic ambiguity, keeping things vague so you can't be easily trapped by your own words. In negotiation, it's a classic defense. You reveal nothing, you commit to nothing, and you avoid liability. Now you might be thinking, why not just clear things up? Well, sometimes the less you say, the less becomes admissible in court or used against you in public narratives. That's why high profile people often refuse to comment, because every word is potential evidence. It's like playing chess with only your pawn showing. The real strategy is hidden, and every move is calculated for maximum deniability. What's the end game? By refusing to explain, Mark Epstein keeps the story alive but out of reach. And sometimes that's exactly what people in power want: perpetual shadows, never full sunlight. Let's talk about behavior patterns. Watch any live press event involving Trump and Epstein. What do you see? Deflection, walk offs, non answers. In PR, this tactic is called narrative management, controlling the story by refusing to engage. Now, some of you are probably asking, does silence equal guilt? Not always. But think about this. In crisis communications, experts advise saying as little as possible when the facts aren't on your side. That's called damage control. Let me tell you a story. In 2019, when reporters pressed Trump about Epstein at a White House event, aides literally pulled him away mid-question. It was a textbook move, what media trainers call a hard exit. That's not accidental. It's a designed response. So, what's the conflict here? The avoidance raises suspicion. If there's nothing to hide, why dodge the question? After all, optics to public's perception can be as damaging as actual evidence. Resolution. We can't assume guilt, but the repeated refusal to clarify only deepens the mystery. In politics, silence screams louder than words.
So Trump blew Bubba. Holy shit. Okay, imagine you're Bill Clinton. Not while that was happening, obviously. I would never ask you to imagine that. That's not humane. But imagine you're Bill Clinton. In 2015, you are watching your wife, Hillary Clinton, run for presidency against your side piece. Two people who used to blow you are running for the presidency. That brings a whole new meaning to the head of the state. That's crazy. Bill Clinton got impeached for getting Dome. Donald Trump might get impeached for giving it to Bill Clinton. That's crazy. One wiener has never destroyed two presidencies. I'm going to stop, but before I do, here's my impression of Donald Trump seeing Bill Clinton's wiener for the first time. Wow, what a cock. I've never seen such a beautiful schlong. I can't even call you Bill Clinton anymore. You know what I'm going to call you? I'm going to call you Big Beautiful Bill. I'm going to call you Big Beautiful.
Let's step back and look at the big picture. In politics, perception often trumps reality. You've heard the phrase, where there's smoke, there's fire. But sometimes the smoke is just clever misdirection. Still, the constant mention of Trump in Epstein's orbit shapes the narrative, whether fair or not. Here's a technical concept: reputational risk. It's the idea that being linked to scandal can damage careers, even in the absence of proof. That's why PR teams work overtime to contain fallout, and why even a single weird email can become headline news. Let me ask, how many times can someone dodge a question before the public assumes the worst? In crisis management, even unanswered accusations leave a permanent stain. Back to the facts. These emails show a pattern mentions of Trump, attempts to manage stories, and a stubborn refusal to clarify. Whether it's all true or not, the damage is done. Resolution. In the era of instant headlines, perception creates its own reality. That's what makes these emails, however cryptic, so powerful. So, what can we learn from the Trump Bubba email and the wider Epstein files? First, that information without context breeds conspiracy. Second, that the powerful use coded language what intelligence services call tradecraft to shield themselves from scrutiny. But here's the real question: can we ever get the full truth or just fragments? The answer depends on persistence of investigators, journalists, and the public. Transparency isn't just a buzzword. It's the only way to cut through layers of secrecy that shield the elite. Let me leave you with this. The Epstein saga isn't just about individuals, but about systems. Systems of protection, silence, and plausible deniability. The email about Bubba is just one thread, but when woven with others, it reveals a tapestry of evasion and intrigue. Now, you might be tempted to throw up your hands and say, Lisa, we'll never know. But that's what those in power count on: public exhaustion. Resolution: stay alert, stay skeptical, and demand real answers, because only sunlight can disinfect the kind of rot exposed in these files.
Y'all, can you just imagine Donald Trump down low and a PDF all at the same time? Like I said, it's the culture. It's the culture. What can I say? But I'm sure there's going to be more coming out of 20,000 emails. It's going to be a lot more coming out. But it is very apparent when you look through. Jeffrey Epstein did not like Donald Trump. And if you remember in his first term, he denied even knowing Jeffrey Epstein, but they actually spent Thanksgiving together in 2017 when Donald Trump was the sitting president. It was Donald Trump and I guess his friends and companions and stuff. They had Thanksgiving together, and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were together back in 2017. And then, of course, he got arrested, and Donald Trump claimed he didn't even know who he was. And then, as soon as he said that, pictures surfaced all over the media of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together. So, he apparently had a friendship. Somewhere along the line, they fell out, just like him and Elon. Donald Trump falls out with everybody, and he fell out with Jeffrey Epstein. Mark Epstein, just the impression I'm getting, he don't care for Donald Trump at all. His brother, Mark, I don't think he feels Donald Trump at all. So it's going to be interesting, Donald Trump. If nothing else, you didn't disappoint. It was a clown show the first time you were in office, and it seems to be a new clown show now that you're in office the second time. So we shall see, y'all. We shall see. we, we shall see. And these men are such animals. They are. Their whole reputation in this country is a disgrace. And then they spend their whole time acting like they're better than somebody. Motherfuckers are the scum of the earth for real. You always have been the scum and you always will be. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I have two more lives coming up for you. One should be around four. What time is it? Two, probably 3:45. I have the fallout between Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'll be touching on that. And I have another one coming up. And hold on, let me pull this up so I can tell you. Where Donald Trump says America has no talent. Now, I find that one interesting because if you remember, Vivek Ramaswamy told white America they were mediocre. And that's why they needed to bring people over. Well, Donald Trump is really saying the same thing. The only difference is he's just telling y'all you have no talent. So they got to bring foreign talent into the country to do jobs that you MAGA nuts are too dumb to do. That's really what he's saying. When he says no talent, he's talking about y'all. He's talking about y'all. So I have those two coming up. And yeah, they had a meltdown on Donald Trump, because you know how these dudes are. They think by default, they are entitled to all the high paid positions, even if they're not qualified. Those positions should go to them. Well, apparently, Donald Trump is backing the H-1B visas, and he's not interested in giving it to MAGA. He wants these jobs to go to, especially India. Just like Vivek was trying to tell y'all, but y'all threw him out the club when he said it. But you can't throw Donald Trump out the club. But y'all, they sure don't like it. Oh, they've been having all kinds of meltdowns online. Donald Trump saying, Bubba, with his MAGA hat on, don't have any talent. That's what he said. So I will see you at 3:45 for my next live. Shalom, family.